Hi everybody, my name is Angela Cleary. I'm a life coach and I specialise in healing after narcissistic abuse. So today I want to talk about how to create a new version of yourself. We can choose to be the version we are or were, or we can choose to create a new version. And we can do this by changing how we speak to ourselves and by transforming our belief system. So how we speak to ourselves. Like, I'll start with something I learned in my course this week, and it's very, very simple. If you do a list of things that you do every day. For example, I'll do my list. I have to get up and let out the dogs. I have to feed the birds. I have to make breakfast. I have to exercise. I have to meditate. I have to have a shower. I have to go to work, etc., etc., etc. That sounds a little bit like, oh God, I have to do all this stuff. But if you change the word have to the word get, that in itself will change how you look at your day. So I'll do that again. I get to feed the birds. I get to let the dogs out. I get to have breakfast. I get to meditate. I get to exercise. I get to have a shower, and I get to go to work. Changing a simple word in your language and how you speak to yourself can actually transform your whole perception on your day and your whole perception on life. So if you start with these little things, the way you speak to yourself, this can actually transform your belief system and transform how you see yourself. So if you've always saw yourself as this old version who drinks, takes drugs, works that 9-to-5 job, lives that mundane black and white lifestyle, has anxiety and depression, the way you see yourself is the way you are. But you can see yourself as a completely transformed human being. I used to be that person. And if I can change, so can you. And that's the thing with people. They're like, I can't change. I can't do this. I can't meditate. I can't heal. But everyone can heal. Everyone can change. And if you say, this is a quote from Henry Ford. This is just the start of it. Whether you think you can or you can't, you are right. So if you think you can do something, yes, you can. But if you think you can't do something, your belief system and your mindset will believe that you can't do something. So if you keep saying I can't, you're actually saying I won't, because everyone can change. So if you're saying I can't do this and I can't do that, you're actually saying I won't do it. You're actually refusing to do it by the way you speak to yourself. So start saying to yourself, I can do this, I will do this, and start to believe it. Transform your beliefs and believe you can. Stop saying I can't change. Everyone can fucking change. My life was not like it is now. My belief system was not like it is now. If I can change, so can you. It isn't easy, but it isn't actually that hard either. So start by speaking to yourself differently. Saying I can. Don't say I should do this or I'll try. The Yoda quote actually I love. Do or do not. There is no try. And that's a fact. You either choose today to do something or you choose not to. You can change. Stop saying you can't and start saying you can. Start saying I believe. I will. I can succeed. I can change. Start seeing yourself as a new version. If you want to live in that small town mindset forever, if you want to eat that unhealthy food, if you want to drink alcohol for the rest of your life, if you want to suffer from depression for the rest of your life, you can choose to stay in that belief system, or you can choose to create a new version of yourself, create a new reality. And that's what it is. You can create a new reality. We are not stuck in what we think we have to be in. We do not have to live like our parents did. We can choose to change our reality by choosing to change our belief system. And start by speaking to yourself differently. Start by saying you can and you will. Believe you can and you're halfway there. That's another quote. And I have a couple of quotes here that I'll start off with. What you think, you become. What you feel, you attract. And what you imagine, you create. And this is how manifestation works. You can create a whole new reality and a whole new life and a whole new future for yourself if you start today and if you choose to change today. And you can change. And it is hard to change, and it's hard to change for yourself. When you believe nothing but your past or your reality from your upbringing, from your circumstances, from your environment, start by choosing different environments. If you're hanging around people who live in a small town mindset, who are complaining about money all the time, who are depressed all the time, who are gossiping all the time, you're going to take on that kind of energy, and your belief system is going to be their belief system. So change who you spend time with. If you want $1 million lifestyle, start hanging around with $1 million mindsets. Now, obviously, this mightn't be able to come into reality straight away. So start looking for $1 million mentors like Tony Robbins and, Dean Graziosi. Start learning their belief systems. Start listening to their language, and stop hanging around the languages of the small town mindset. Stop living if you can't live $1 million life if you're living a minimum wage mindset. What we are, we create. What we are is what we will be. So if you keep believing that you're this version of yourself, this drinker, this smoker, this 9-to-5er, you will continue to be in that lifestyle. But if you start to believe that you are healthy, you are happy, you're abundant, you're prosperous, you have ideas, you have entrepreneurial skills, if you have a business opportunity ahead of you, you can create this, because we all have $1 million idea within us. We are our own $1 million idea. Actually, we are. That's the thing. I've read that before. We have $1 million idea inside us. We just need to know how to get it out. But I've discovered we are our own $1 million idea. And if we change how we see ourselves, we can create a $1 million lifestyle for ourselves. And it's not about money. It's not just about money. It's about living comfortably. It's about living happily. And it's about living in prosperity and abundance. But it's not just for us. Like, do it for your kids. I didn't change. It took me it takes pain for humans to change. It takes strong pain and trauma for humans to change. Like, back in my 20s, I went through a narcissistic, verbally abusive relationship. I was sexually abused by someone, and I was also physically abused by an ex-boyfriend as well. Now, I'm not telling you these stories to take pity on me. I'm telling you these stories because if I can change from the traumas that once defined who I was into this better version of myself and heal myself from those traumas, then so can you. I've had a very traumatic childhood as well. My mother abandoned me. My dad was an alcoholic. I was physically abused as well. If I can transform from how I grew up, or how my 20s weren't that long ago, and if I can heal and come out of that, if I can come out of anxiety and depression, so can you. And it took me, I had another fight with my narcissistic ex. He blamed me from the trauma that happened to me. And I was drinking vodka raw out of the bottle, not caring. I didn't want to live because of what I went through. And I looked at my dogs and I was like, oh my God, pouring this drink down my throat, didn't care whether I lived or died. And I looked at my dogs and I said, oh, they need me. They actually need me. So I decided to change for them. And it took me a long time. I was in a lot of hardship in my 20s, as I just said. So I didn't change overnight. I didn't stop drinking that day. I just stopped wanting to kill myself with alcohol. And I became better because of my dogs. And when I allowed toxic energy into my life in 2023 or 2022, 2023, I got to the mindset and I was in such fear by its energy that I didn't care if I lived or died, until the day I clicked again and looked at my dogs and I said, I have to be here for them. I have to change for them, because it's hard to change for yourself. You're like, fuck it, I'm not worth it. I'm not worthy. I'm not enough. This world doesn't need me. I just give up. And that is the way we feel. But do it for your children. Do it for your kids, your dogs, your fur babies. Do it for future generations. Do it for your family. But do it for you as well. And you are worth it. You can change and you are worthy. You don't have to suffer that way anymore. And that's the thing with trauma. When we don't heal our trauma, our fix is to go to a stress reliever. So whether that be cigarettes, drugs, whatever. I used to be that way. I used to be so highly stressed. I was so living out of alignment with my soul, getting abused left, right and centre, and living such a black or grey darkness of a life that I needed a stress reliever. I needed a fix. And I remember a few weeks ago, I don't need drink or drugs anymore. I don't even smoke fags anymore. I smoke weed from time to time, but that's only as a treat. And it's not an addiction for me anymore. Where I was codependent and all these things. And I remember a few weeks ago, I was, when I go out into big crowds and stuff, I take on external energy. I get really, really low. I feel very, very low vibrational energy when I come in from big crowds and stuff. So I went to the NCT and I had to drive in the dark on a road I didn't really know, and that stresses me out as well. And then I had to sit in a waiting room with loads of people, and I came back and I felt the worst I'd felt in a very, very long time. And first thing I thought of, I want something, I need a fix. That's what we do when we work in these shitty jobs and stuff. We come in and we reach for that glass of wine or that joint or that fag. And I was like, I need something. So I actually opened a non-alcoholic beer as a placebo to de-stress. And I was drinking, I took a few mouthfuls of it, and I wasn't really enjoying it, to be honest with you. And I actually sat there and I said to myself, what do people use to de-stress when they don't drink or take drugs? And I was like, what can I use right now to calm myself? And normally I sage myself and stuff like that, so that's what you do. But I actually was like, herbal tea. And I went and drank a herbal tea and I was fine. I was completely fine and my stress levels relaxed and I saged and stuff. But I asked myself, that question, what do we use as a fix when we are not addicted to stuff anymore? So that's the thing, my old version would have went for drink or drugs or whatever. And that's the thing, when we don't believe we're worthy of change, and even if we try to give up alcohol or whatever, we always revert back to that. We'll revert back to that alcohol, we'll revert back to the drugs, or we'll revert back to that unhealthy relationship because we are feeling codependent, we're feeling lonely, and we're feeling unworthy, and we're feeling incapable of change. And you see that with certain people. They try to change, and then all of a sudden they look in the mirror and they're like, no, you can't change. You'll never change. Look at the state of you. And then they revert back to their old ways. But that's how we speak to ourselves. And we won't change if we keep believing that's all we are and believing that we can't be something better. Of course we can be something better if you transform your mindset and if you transform the way you speak to yourself. Stop punishing yourself for stuff that you did in the past because of the circumstances that you grew up in or the relationships and the trauma that you went through. You do not have to live that way anymore. And do it for your kids. Change. Do you want your children to live the way you lived or to be depressed like you did? Years upon years ago when I was suffering from anxiety and depression, I swore I would never have children. And the reason I said it was because I would not bring a child into this world of anxiety and depression. But the whole objective here is to break the cycle so that you can bring a child into a world of happy, healthy abundance. And if you heal your internal wounds and make that decision not to be your parents, then your child will not have anxiety and depression. Be the parent that you wished you had, even if that is only for fur babies. Do you know what I mean? Be the proper, the enlightened, be the parent you wish you had. Be the love that you wish you had. Do it for your kids. Do it for your future generations. Do it for the dogs. Do it for you, but do it for them. If you want to provide abundance and stability and prosperity for your child, if you want your child to have the things that you didn't have, start today by speaking to yourself differently. Start today by transforming your beliefs, and start today by changing your life. Now I have a few more quotes here, just to start you off, you are what you believe yourself to be. That is a fact. You can change what you believe. If you believe in yourself, anything is possible. Believe you can, and you're halfway there. And one quote I really love is, change the way you look at things, and the things you look at change. So change the way you look at yourself and the way you and you will change. You know what I mean? Change what you see. Change that old version into a new version. Now, when I started reading The Law of Attraction back in 2018, I cried the whole way through that book. I really did. But I also smiled because I was actually so depressed. I was crying all the time anyway. But I read it over and over and over and over and over again because it was the only thing in my life that made me smile. And I was like, this has to be doing something right if it's making me smile when I'm so depressed. And I started to change my mindset. I started to use this in my Bible. I started to study the law of attraction because I knew this was the only thing that was making me happy at that moment. I went from being a grumpy, angry person who didn't want to get up in the mornings to being singing in the mornings. I used to think happy morning people were weird or crazy. I used to think people who were happy without drugs or alcohol were on drugs because I was like, you can't be happy like that all the time. That's not right. Just no, people can't be happy like that all the time. But if you change your mindset, yes, you can. And like, look, what I did when I was starting off this journey was I rebrainwashed myself, or I reprogrammed my mind. And by doing this, I decided to start writing quotes, inspirational quotes down in books, in notebooks, so that any time that I felt depression or negativity or anxiety, I would revert back to these books. Now, I have 3 notebooks here full of inspirational quotes. Every page has more than one quote on it, and every page has something that inspired me. Now, I'm not going to read them all to you because that would take too long. But as a way of transforming your belief system, start by writing quotes down. And like, you don't have to do it in a notebook, do it on your phone, save a file on your phone. Any quote that you come across that inspires you to maybe believe in that light, save it and read it over and over and over and over and over again till you believe it. Now, I am going to read you the first quote I ever wrote into my first notebook. This is my first notebook, and it is full. But I'll read you the first quote, and I read this morning, actually, and I was like, wow, this is so synchronistic for what I'm trying to explain on this video. But the first quote I ever wrote down as a way of transforming my beliefs is this. It's from Charles Hannell. Remember that no matter what the difficulty is, no matter where it is, and no matter who is affected, you have no patient but yourself. You have nothing to do but convince yourself of the truth which you desire to see manifested. So what this is saying is, no matter how hard it is, no matter who is affected, so it doesn't matter who you have to walk away from or who you think may be hurt by you choosing yourself. You have no patient but yourself. You have no one to look after but yourself, so that you've nothing to do but convince you of the truth in which you desire to see manifested. In other words, if you want a better life for yourself, stop thinking about who it affects except you. Because when we transform our life and when we create a new version of ourselves, the people that we once hung around with, the people that were once in our life, and this could be family members as well, this isn't just friends, we're going to have to leave them behind. If they're dragging us down, if their mindset is to do with gossip, negativity, unhappiness, small town mindset, we're going to have to leave them behind. And that is sad, and it's unfortunate, and like, you're like, oh, I can't hurt this person, I can't hurt this person. If you transform your life into that high vibrational mindset, they're going to see proof that life can change. So you're going to end up inspiring them to hopefully change their own lives. But you can't change your life or their lives unless you start now by changing your mindset and changing your belief system, changing your environment, but changing your language. Change how you speak to yourself. Stop saying I can't, because then effectively you're saying I won't. Stop saying I will try, because that is so... If you say I'll try and do this, you're giving yourself a get out of jail free card. You're saying, like, if you say I try and then you don't succeed, you're like, that's all right, I tried. And I used to say God loves a trier. Yes, trying is great, but there is do or do not. There is no try. Listen to Yoda. We have to stop seeing ourselves as this low vibration energy. We're on this planet now. The whole planet is changing. The whole planet is ascending. And we are here for abundance. We are here to live in a life of fulfillment, not fear, not debt, not scrimping and saving, not depression. And, you know, like that's another thing with addictions actually that I've learned. Say, when we give up fags or when we give up alcohol or this, that, the other, we say, oh, I'm off it 6 days now, I'm off it 3 months, I'm off it a year. I'm off the fags. I you know, you're kind of saying that you're not, like, you're kind of saying, like, you're not really determined on the, like, what I'm trying to say. If you say, like, I was a smoker or I was a drinker and I'm off the fags a certain amount of days, you're kind of giving yourself a window or an opportunity to go back on the fags or to still be a smoker. To say that you're an ex-smoker or an ex-drinker or an ex-drug addict. Change your wording to, I don't smoke, I'm a non-smoker, I'm a non-drinker, and I'm a non-drug taker. Do you know, say it that way. And that made so much sense to me, because like I was putting, like, I was like, oh, I'm off the fags now a year. And I was like, no, don't be putting deadlines on things. Like, I'm no longer a smoker. I do not smoke. If somebody offers me a fag, I'll say no because I don't smoke. Whereas, like, when maybe even 6 months ago, when I was still saying I'm off the fag 6 months, if somebody had have offered me a fag 6 months ago, well, a bit longer than that, I probably would have said, oh, go on, give it to me. And like, you know, and I used to walk past fag smell and smoke, and I used to smell, I was like, oh God, I'd love a fag. But now I walk past a smoke smell and I don't like it. And I know in my heart and soul I am a non-smoker. I do not smoke tobacco. I do not drink alcohol, and I do not take drugs. Like, I'll eventually take plant medicine at some stage again. And I will smoke weed again because I think weed is a very spiritual substance and it's a plant. Plant stuff is okay in my opinion. But things that affect your body badly, tell yourself you don't smoke anymore. Tell yourself you don't drink anymore. Don't say I'm off the drink or I'm off the fags, because this kind of gives you a window to go back on things. Change your language with these things. Change your language with, as I said, how you speak to yourself. And this will transform your belief system. Stop seeing yourself as this version of yourself and start seeing yourself as this new version. Because in fairness, as I said, if I can change, if I can heal my traumas, and they were shit, like, they were really, really shit, and I went for alcohol and drugs and everything to try and not think. I had anxiety and depression because of my upbringing. I suffered mental health issues most of my life. But when I started to do meditation, when I started to use the law of attraction, I created a new belief system for myself. And I created a new reality for myself. Do you know, and even as I was going through this spiritual journey, I was still partying at the very start, and I was still taking drugs and stuff, and I wasn't drinking as much, but I was still taking drugs. But that was the version of myself I created, and I wanted. And don't get me wrong, I still love to party, but dancing and music is my new drug. And it's healthy. There's no side effects there. Do you know what I mean? And we can replace, I don't like to say replace, but we can replace certain habits with good habits. We can change and transform. Like, you know, I've said this in a video before. When I was still drinking, an 18-year-old said to me that he didn't drink, and most of his friends didn't drink, and 18 years of age. And for 3 days, I was like, what the fuck? What do you do? What do you do if you don't drink? Because when I was a teenager, we only knew was drinking, drugs, and partying. It's where we grew up, or our environment, this is what we knew. And for an 18-year-old to tell me that they didn't drink, I was literally flabbergasted. I was like, what do you do? And now I've started to realise that you can replace those belief systems with other ones. I never thought I'd give up alcohol. I never thought I'd give up drugs. I never thought I'd give up cigarettes. But I changed my belief system, and now I have different things that get me high, like dancing, music, a healthy lifestyle, you know, meditation. I put a few tarot cards and oracle cards, and that makes me happy. Do you know, and going out in the sunshine and being out in nature. This fulfills me with joy and ecstasy. Whereas I don't need those substances anymore. But you see, that's the thing. You heal your inner wounds. And you don't reach for those fixes anymore. If you do get a little bit stressed, herbal tea. Actually, herbal tea is actually really fantastic. Or sage. Or a little bit of incense. A little bit of meditation. This kind of stuff. Replace those ugly substances, those addictions, those codependencies with new healthy behaviors. And like, it might seem like an alien concept, which it was for me. I never ever thought I wouldn't be that version of myself. You know, and like I remember when I was still hanging around with friends and I was still going to parties, and I like, they used to be my whole support system and my family. And I'd come alive every time I was there. But my soul started to feel uncomfortable in those situations and surrounded by drinkers and party. You know, I was drinking mainly because I was still taking drugs and I didn't, you know, but it was drink. It was drink drink really, really detaches you from your soul. And that's the reason I gave up drink with the help of meditation. But it actually lowers your consciousness and it detaches you from your soul and it makes you do things that are not nice. And it made me do things that were not nice. So as I was giving it up, like when I was surrounded by people who drank alcohol, I started to feel uncomfortable. And it broke my heart because I'd be standing with the same people that previously filled my soul with joy. And I'd be like, this isn't what I want anymore. And, you know, because of meditation, because of inner healing, it changed for me. And it's hard to walk away from those situations when that's all you've known. It's hard to leave those people behind when that's all you've known. But when your soul is starting to say, this isn't right anymore, this isn't who you are anymore, you have to start changing that version of yourself into this new version. Start listening to what is in alignment with your soul. Give up that alcohol and don't, like, well, that's the hardest part about giving up alcohol when you're surrounded by people who drink. They're like, oh, come on, you have to drink. What's wrong? Are you on antibiotics? Jesus, like, you're not allowed to give up alcohol. And I remember even, they were doing a toast and I picked up my bottle of water and went in for the toast, and one of the lads was like, what? Put back his drink. And he's like, you can't do that. I was being discriminated against because I was drinking water instead of alcohol. You know, and that's the kind of, I felt like, Jesus, I felt so outcast. And I felt outcast my whole life. But when I started to make decisions for me, the people that are in your environment are going to try and tell you that you're wrong or that you're crazy or that, like, you can't do that. Like, do you know, if I did start, like, I remember, like, I was even afraid years ago when I was still hanging around with my dad. I was afraid to tell him that I became intolerant to milk. I became intolerant to it. I couldn't eat. I was afraid to tell him I couldn't eat sugar anymore because he kept giving me sweets all the time. My press was full of sweets that he kept giving me, and I told him I didn't want sweets anymore, but he kept bringing sweets to my house. I ended up giving away a press full of fucking chocolate and sweets because I actually couldn't eat it anymore. And even though I told him I couldn't eat sweets because of my gums, I went into a meeting, and in the office, a little bit agitated when I did tell him I was intolerant to milk. And, you know, and I told him I can't eat cheese. Like, you know, he got kind of angry about it. And I'm like, I was afraid to tell a person in my life that I was intolerant to milk. So if I was still hanging around him and I told him I was vegan, I would have been ridiculed for that, or he would have gotten angry about it. Do you know, and this is what happens when we change ourselves around these people. They will try and stop us from moving forward, but not out of badness, but because that's all they've known. So it is hard to change who you are into a new version if you're still with these people, or even if you ask these people for advice. Do you know, so you have to start listening to your soul, and you have to understand as well that you will have to do this alone. More than likely, you'll have to do this alone. Because most of the people that are in your life now are in alignment with that old version of you. So if you want to create a new version, you're going to have to walk away from your past. and you're going to have to walk into your future. But do it for you, but do it for your kids. Do it to change your children's lives. Do it. You can aspire to be a multi-millionaire. You can aspire to have a life of abundance and prosperity, a life of health and happiness, to make a better life for your children. If you change how you speak to yourself, if you change your beliefs, and if you change your identity. And that's what it is like. Do you know, because I'm even still going through stuff now at the minute when it comes to caffeine. I wanted to give up caffeine a couple of years ago, but my ego wouldn't let me. And I said in a video before, when I became vegan, my ego wouldn't let me. My ego didn't want to give up meat, fish or eggs. I didn't want to give up cheese. Cheese was my big one. But the universe made me intolerant to dairy. So then I took that as a sign I need to give up everything. And I had gotten other signs as well, but I wasn't listening. But I eventually did listen. And I'm happy being vegan now. It took me a long time. It even took over to a few weeks ago me accidentally eating milk chocolate to actually stop being angry with the universe for making me vegan. I'm happy to be vegan now, and I understand why I don't want to eat animals anymore. Or fish or eggs or cheese. I understand now why that's part of my soul and why I'm actually happy with it now. But I didn't want to give up caffeine because I love coffee. And a mentor about a month ago kind of was saying you need to give up caffeine and you need to give up these things and whatever. And I was like, no, I'm not giving up caffeine. I only drink 1 cup of coffee a day now, so fuck off. And then a mentor last week, a different mentor, said he was off the coffee train. And I was like, all right, I'm giving up coffee. And another mentor from the same course I'm on actually described lately about his journey on giving up caffeine. And I was like, that's 3 mentors now that are after encouraging me to give up coffee. And I wanted to give up coffee for over a year. And I was like, I don't want to do it. I want to stay in that belief system. But like, I wasn't saying I want to stay in that belief system. I was like, I like the taste of coffee. But now I want to give up coffee, and I'm going to give up coffee. And there's other things as well, like bread. I was eating way too much bread again. And that's the thing, like, I stopped baking bread. Like, I've been baking bread for the last couple of years. But this week I decided to change that part of myself because I was eating too much bread and it was making me feel bloated and stuff. And I was getting downloads from the universe again to give up bread. And I decided then not to bake it. That's the thing, like, if you say you can't give up sugar, you can't give up this, you can't give up that, stop buying it. And that's the thing with me, like, if I buy sweets and if I buy coffee, if I buy or cook bread, bake bread, I will eat it. And like, you know, I bought loads of treats for my birthday and oh my God, like, I felt so shitty after eating those treats. But there was one popcorn left. And like, I was trying my new diet this week, just kind of fruit and healthy eating and cutting out the bread. And last night I was sitting there going, there's popcorn in the press, there's popcorn in the press. And I was like, you're disciplining yourself, Angela. The whole point of doing this new diet is for discipline. Like, I'm not doing it to lose weight, I'm doing it for self-discipline. And that's the thing, like, when I go on 72-hour fast, it's for self-discipline and my addiction to food in a sense. And I sitting there going, you're not going to eat the popcorn, you're going to break your diet, you're going to break this discipline. So I ate the popcorn, but then I said to myself, look, it's gone now. My press is empty. I'm not going to buy popcorn and shit again. I'm not going to bake sweets again. And I'm not going to bake bread for a while because I'm going to change, when I was eating bread in the mornings and evenings, I'm going to change that to fruit. And today, for the first time, I ate oatmeal. And like, I've been getting this, I buy these oatmeal, for the birds, to give to the birds. And for a long time I had been contemplating trying oatmeal, but I was like, no, you can't do that. And then I actually made it last night instead of bread, and it was the first time I've eaten oatmeal since I was a child. And I mixed it with chocolate and maple syrup, and it was lovely. And I put it in the fridge overnight last night, and I ate it today for the first time, and I'm still full. And normally, like, I'd have my bread in the morning and I'd be fucking starving by now. Do you know what I mean? So what I'm trying to say there is, like, even this week and last week, I'm changing my belief system. You know, and the ego mind keeps coming in, but it is actually that simple. If we just transform our beliefs, we can change our lifestyle, we can change what we eat, we can change what we are addicted to. We can change our unhealthy habits into new habits. We can transform our life into abundance, happiness, and prosperity if you change how you speak to yourself. So don't get up in the morning and say, I have to do this, this, and this. Say, I get to do this, this, and this. Say you can, say you will. And believe in yourself, because if you believe in yourself, anything is possible. And write down those quotes, write down those affirmations. Do that. As I said, these 3 books are full, and I have another one that's half full out there. You know, and I'm actually going to, like, normally when you give somebody advice, you have to listen to it yourself. So I'm actually going to read over these quotes again. And I've read over these more than once over the last few years. Since 2018, I've been putting quotes in these books. And every time I relapse, I will read over those quotes again. And I every time I read them, I remember the past version of myself reading them, or, you know what I mean? So I've changed every time I read these quotes, and it makes me feel such joy. And I'm going to read them again because I know I'm going to be like, wow, I am not that version of myself anymore. I've changed every time I go over those quotes. Every time I've healed and relapsed, and read those quotes again, I'm like, wow, I am not who I was before. I change every day into a new version of myself because I choose to speak to myself differently and choose to transform my thoughts and my beliefs and my beliefs. And that's it. Like, say you can, and start today just by changing those little words. I get to do this. Not that I have to do this. You get to do it. You get to wake up in the morning. You get to do these things. You get to exercise. You get to meditate. You know, stop saying I have to do, have to. Or don't, like, stop saying I should. Should is another one. Don't say I should do this. Say you will do this. If you try and change those little things every day, and the next time you say I should do this, don't say I should. Say I will do this. Don't say I try. Say I will do this. Don't say I can't. Say I can. Because you can. If I can change from my traumatic experiences, if I can heal my inner demons, my inner wounds, my inner traumas, and if I don't need alcohol and drink and drugs and tobacco, I keep saying alcohol and drink, it's the same fucking thing. If I don't need these substances anymore, if I don't have, like, that's the thing, when you go through traumas, your thoughts are what you want to black out. You want to stop thinking, so you keep taking drugs or you keep taking alcohol. Do meditation. Do the inner healing. You will not have anxiety and depression anymore if you live in alignment with your soul and if you choose better for yourself. Meditation is the best anti-anxiety medication you will ever have. You know, you can change your mindset with meditation, with the law of attraction, with healing your inner mind, and then you won't need those substances anymore. Then you can aspire to be a better version of yourself, and you won't need that 9-to-5 job anymore because you will create your own business. You will create your own lifestyle. You will create your new reality. And it all starts with the way you speak to yourself. So start changing how you see yourself. Start changing what you believe. And start creating that new version of yourself today. Do it for you, but do it for your kids. Do it for your fur babies. You can and you will change. Believe in yourself and anything is possible. And believe you can and you're halfway there. So thank you for listening today. And if this resonates,